of the switch to remote at around 6:10 p.m. on a Monday night, and we had 24 hours to switch my class to remote. I will say that I panicked a little bit inside, and I'd never taught online before at all.
I don't think that I properly understood the gravity of the situation when I was standing at the airport, with everyone sort of dressed for the apocalypse.
When I received the email telling us we had to leave Accra in 2 days, I was hiking in northern Ghana with 2 of my other friends. Although we were not too far from Accra, it took us a whole day to return because there's no direct bus. And after I landed in China, I was quarantined in a hotel for 14 days.
We had been told on Friday that we would go to completely remote learning and stay in our dorms. And I ended up getting a plane ticket for the next morning, packed everything up, said my goodbyes that night, and was flying out of Israel by 8 a.m.
Because we kind of had the weekly check-in of a classroom setting, it also became a kind of opportunity for everyone to check in with each other and see how others are doing and process, I think, the difficulties of living in the COVID experience.
During the pandemic, I guess we had to document the African city from abroad. When students had to be filming and doing their work in their various countries. We had students from the US, we had students in Asia, and then how do they tell the story of an African city in China or somewhere in the US? That was one of the first challenges. And then the second challenge is NYU has equipment that the students use when they are working. So we have HD video cameras, we have editing suites that they work on. Now with the pandemic, all these things are not available to them anymore.
I realized that a smartphone can do many things, so I was not too worried. I did a project on my friend's experience going back from New York City to China. We both use our phones to record our way back, so I got enough video footages. I also did an online interview with her using phones to record our conversations. Then I combined those footages, audio and video together. It was successful in the end.
I kept racking my brain to figure out a way to get the students outside in biology, experiencing biology, I had several objectives. I wanted them to not be on their computer for part of it. I wanted them to be able to physically observe things happening in the world around them. Take advantage of the fact that even though we weren't all together in New York City, I knew from talking to students that we had students all over the world. And also trying to do this with the technology they had at hand, where they didn't need to learn any new technology and they did not need to purchase any supplies.
That it really takes, some humanity, in a sense, your ability to empathize with others and to actually, be there in the moment, rather than when you're in a high-tech environment, you can kind of hide behind the technology that's in front of you. Even with Zoom, while you can see someone's face, it makes it a bit difficult to share those genuine connections.
It felt like many of my classes had been structured and planned for an online medium, even though they hadn't, because of how seamlessly some of them transitioned. I think that this was in part because of the nature of the classes and the subjects that were being taught and how conducive they were to being taught online. But a large part of why my classes worked so well online was also because my professors were very committed to giving us the same experience online that we had in class.
Yeah, so I created this project called Backyard Biodiversity, and we tried to follow the scientific method. I asked them to take a walk outside for 30 minutes and try to identify 20 plants and really learn the place that they were living in, no matter where it was, whether it was a city, whether it was a suburb. But the coolest thing about being remote that I think I wouldn't have been able to do if we had all been in New York City in my classroom is that then I was able to pair them up with another person in the class who was located in a completely different place. So I, for example, had a student who is in the Chihuahuan Desert of Mexico paired with someone who was living in Thailand. And so they got their local perspective of the area around them, and then they got to talk to someone and learn about, from a really local perspective, learn about their backyard. And so not only were they collecting data, but then they came together and they analyzed the data together.
We also then had to sort of look at DIY subcultures and understand that sometimes you can make incredible pieces of work with very little, and that a lot of the students, I think, through the class rose to the occasion and impressed me and impressed others with their ability to imagine a way of making art and music and video and performance in ways that couldn't have happened had we met together in person.
What makes the students this time, from the experiences that they had, do something slightly different from what we've done in the past, on the positive side, is that usually when you have the camera, you're standing behind the camera, you tell the person, look left, look right, and then you film. In this case, the subject is not in front of them. They have to give camera directions to the subject to film, at the same time give other directions that they expect in terms of content-wise to the people. And having to go through that process, I think it makes them even more conscious about the work that they have to do. And some way, somehow, I think it makes them even better filmmakers.
A lot of us were stressed and worried about how to finish our project since most of us were in quarantines. We were all out of our comfort zone. Our expectations in the end were kind of low because the situation, but we were pleasantly surprised by other projects in the end.
Things will usually work out as long as you don't become overfilled with this panic or anxiety going into situations. So I am definitely a bit more calm and controlled about it. And I think the biggest thing that I really will be bringing over from Israel and even from my time remote here is really just my work ethic. Part of it was definitely the environment I was in, the people I was around, and the staff and faculty I had. But I truly believe that I never, worked so hard and been so focused and into my schooling before.
I think I became more focused in how I taught my class, and it's really transforming the way that I approach assignments and teaching students and getting the students to interact with the material.
It was a bit of a push and pull, for them to understand that we understand their difficulties, but also for them to be able to do the work that they're supposed to do. Even though it was a tough time, trying to console them, sympathize with them, make things easy for them, send them as many materials as possible, whatever we can do to help, at the same time making sure that the deadline is met.
And the positive reinforcement we got from our peers, but also from our faculty, really made it possible to kind of see this process through the end. And this applied to my classes, but also to everything that I had started in Tel Aviv, including my internship.
Sometimes we learn new skills and perspectives, when there are new changes. So staying positive and figuring out ways to make it work is very crucial.